Sales numbers have just rolled in from October, and man, things are looking rough for Subaru and many others. We're over at Automotive News for Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Kia sales slip again. Mazda even declines as well. We'll go into detail with most of these companies. Not all of them report on a monthly basis. They report most of them on a quarterly basis. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I love talking about and breaking down the sales numbers at the beginning of each month. And what we have here is a continual free fall for sales, unless you're Genesis. Check this out. Genesis sold 5,300 units, which is up over 400% compared to last October, and they're up 221% overall for the year. They would be up more if they had the SUVs available, let's say January, February, but regardless, the GV70, GV80 are essentially carrying the brand into relevancy. We look at the far right column, most of the companies are doing well so far this year compared to the first 10 months of last year. Now, where things are getting really dicey is the last few months as supply chain has essentially diminished. They're not able to meet the demand. And if we just look at this column here, compared to last October, things are getting really poor for most companies here. The only reason Hyundai is up because Hyundai Motor includes Genesis, and Hyundai's only down 1% though. Hyundai and Kia, if we look at Kia, only down 7%. They are managing this better than just about everyone. Tesla's not on this list, but if you remember last month, Tesla is doing really well. They're still feeling supply chain issues, but they're still growing exponentially. Subaru down 40%. No one else is even coming close to that on this list. Toyota, though, getting hammered, down 30% compared to last October. Lexus weathering the storm a little bit better. And Honda and Acura combined down about 23.5%. Things weren't looking good for them last month, and it continues into this month. I don't talk about Ford much on the channel, but their sales only fell 4% in October compared to last October. 3.3% of that is Ford and 17% of that is Lincoln. But moving on to Toyota, which they haven't posted results on their media page or anything like that. They do that quarterly now, but they have really dropped off of a clip here. Sales dropped 29% in October, but what is even crazier is that the Camry is down 40%. The RAV4 is down 39%. Tacoma down 38%. Highlander 19% down. Corolla down 61%. That number doesn't even seem possible. And if we go to Honda, they're getting walloped in a very similar fashion. The Accord is down 20%, Civic down 39%. Some of that might be due to the transition from the previous model to the new model. The hatchbacks have just started production fairly recently for the new Civic, so that might have something to do with it as well. CRV down 22%. That's their #1 volume seller. Pilot down about 20%. Insight, though, is up 41%, which is very interesting. Honda must be allocating chips so they can supply the huge demand in hybrids right now because gas prices are soaring. HRV is up 57%, and the vehicle is so old and outdated and primitive, they probably don't need the most up-to-date microchips for the HRV. That vehicle, man, they're just printing money with it. And it's really just benefiting from a really hot subcompact crossover market, just doing really well. And the HRV is just gobbling up sales, even though it's not a good driving car. The CVT and the underpowered engine, it's very outdated, very cheap. Anyways, I'm not a big fan of the HRV, if you guys can't tell. Delivery slipped 1% at Hyundai, though the company's retail volume rose 1% to an October record of 52,767. Hyundai is perfectly fine with something like that because retail volume is the most important because that means profits. If you're doing fleet sales or wholesale, you're not making a lot of money there, and it's really just to kind of pad your sales volume. All right. Time to break down the individual sales. We got Mazda, Subaru, Hyundai, and Kia. Those are the only numbers I have for the brands that I cover. So let's talk about Mazda here. Pretty interesting what's going on with them. I want to focus on this column on the left. Mazda 3 only down 2.2%. Very interesting. And you also have to keep in mind the daily selling rate this past October compared to October 2020 had one less selling day in it. And that means Mazda on a DSR basis was only down 11% compared to about 14% on a volume basis. Mazda 6, rest in peace. No surprise that these sales have fallen off a cliff. MX-5, this is very strange. I have not seen MX-5 sales tank like this even since the pandemic started. So yes, it's up still 36% on the year, but very strange that the supply chain has just decimated the MX-5 sales for October. CX-3's canceled, so that's they sold one CX-3 in October. That's laughable. CX-30 only down 2.1%, and that's one of the big volume sellers, or growing volume sellers, I should say. So the fact it's only down 2% is doing really well for Mazda. CX-5 down about 15%, which is nothing if you look at what's going on with the RAV4 or the CR-V. Those are down much, much more than the CX-5. So it's good to see that Mazda is able to keep the damages as minimal as possible. And the CX-9 is about neutral. Pretty crazy, but that's a fairly old vehicle, and maybe they don't need the most microchips or the most sought after microchips for it. It's kind of hard to say there, but the CX-9 maintaining its sales volume. We're going to dust on Hyundai real quick. Like we mentioned earlier, their retail sales set a record for October. The Accent is up 154%. I don't understand how that works, but people need cheap cars, and they probably don't need that many microchips for the Accent. So 154% there is a good number for that budget-minded vehicle. Elantra taking a big dip. Ioniq, which they're probably just doing a closeout sale for those hybrids and plug-in hybrids and full electric Ioniqs as the brand transfers into a fully electric brand with the Ioniq 5 coming out. Who knows when at this point, because I think Hyundai said it was supposed to be by the end of November. Fingers crossed on that. I'm not very hopeful that that's going to happen, but we'll see. Kona up 28%. How is a Kona doing so well? Nexo with its fuel cell up 70%. Not quite as good as the Mirai, which is up like 400% or more. It might be thousands percent because the old Mirai was just so bad. Palisade, they're able to keep that volume there, up 15%, but the Santa Fe is taking a hit. Sonata taking a big hit. Tucson, the brand new Tucson, minus 11%. Not too bad though. Like I said, compared to the RAV4 as well as the CR-V. Veloster, well, rest in peace. I mean, it's pretty much all but canceled here in the United States, minus 51%. And the Venue up 45%. I'm seeing Venues everywhere now. I don't know if that's just unique to Florida, but I'm seeing Venues everywhere I go now with their little Zorro taillights. But yeah, Hyundai just doing extraordinarily well. Kia's doing well as well, but not quite as good. They don't ever give us percentages on the Kia side of things, so it's not that fun for me to go through. But look, 2K900 sold in the month of October. Seltos being down, and that's probably why the HR-V is reaping all those sales because Honda's for some reason able to supply that vehicle. The Sportage is falling back a little bit, but we're getting a new Sportage soon. And interestingly, the Telluride has not been able to keep its sales volume. So it went from about 9,700 to about 7,700. And we'll go back to Hyundai. We'll look at the Palisade. And the Palisade has been able to get 8,600 units out for October. So I don't know what's going on, why the Kia only got about 1,000 units less than its essentially brother on the Hyundai side. So pretty interesting there. If you guys know that reason why the Palisade got an extra 1,000 units compared to the Telluride, let me know. But we need to go to Subaru because this is like pretty concerning, especially if you're a Subaru fan, because Subaru is handling this supply chain catastrophe worse than anyone else in the market. Subaru of America reported 36,817 sales for October, a 40% decrease compared to last October. And if you look at their year-to-date sales of just a hair under 500,000 units, they're only up 0.3% compared to the same period in 2020. We're going to go back to the automotive news chart that they have, 0.3% right here. The next closest poor performing brand is up 14.2%, which is Honda. So what does Subaru's president and CEO have to say, Mr. Thomas Dahl? Subaru, like the rest of the auto industry, faces a severe shortage of semiconductor chips and other key components that directly impacts our vehicle production. We are working tirelessly alongside our retailers to get customers the vehicles they want and need as quickly as possible. I just don't get why Subaru is crapping the bed worse than everyone else, given that everyone is going through the exact same thing. So we're just going to scroll down here because we have some interesting things to talk about with these sales for Subaru here. Subaru WRX and STI are the only vehicles in October that produced positive numbers. And we're just looking at this column kind of in the middle here, up 35% for the WRX/STI. If you look at the next best performing vehicle compared to last October, that would be the Ascent, which is just, that's not a good sign, because the Ascent, when things were looking normal for Subaru, the Ascent was the one kind of holding the whole lineup back in terms of its sales. But the Forester, its best selling vehicle, down 67%, which takes a cake away from the Corolla, which was down 61%. Impreza only down 19%, so that's doing fairly well. Legacy, well, sedans aren't doing that great in general, but minus 47% is not great. Outback, their other top selling vehicle, minus 49% on the month of October. BRZ down 89%, but they're switching to the new model, so it doesn't really count. And Crosstrek, which has been its like knight in shining armor for Subaru, it's been selling extraordinarily well this past year. It's down 30%. And looking at the total, the far bottom right, only up 0.3% on the year. The top performers are going to be the STI in terms of just increase of volume compared to last year. The Outback is doing really well, and the Crosstrek is doing well when you look at the whole year, but the rest of them are getting punched in the face. So I will end it there. Sales numbers are getting really sketchy for most of these automakers. It's going to be interesting to see how they finish out the year. Are they going to be able to finish strong? Are we going to see a recovery for December, for November to finish the year strong? Or are we going to continue to see these minus numbers, double-digit percentages, continue to infect and degrade the sales volume of so many of these Japanese and Korean automakers? And it's not just them. They're just the ones I talk about the most on the channel. So anyways, guys, I'll see you down in the comments. A lot of I think it's exciting, even though it's kind of doomsday sort of news. It's still exciting to me. Anyways, guys, I'll see you down below. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, subscribe for more Japanese Korean auto news. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.